Hello, everyone. I know it's been a long day. Appreciate your time and energy. We're going to continue with panel number 5, Looking Beyond Linear, how ACR data helps pharma marketers improve reach and frequency. One of the most interesting takeaways from DeepIntent and LG Ad Solutions research was the huge gap in how much people say they stream and how much they actually stream. We wouldn't have been able to uncover this insight without ACR data, which recognizes content on the TV. Those insights into people's viewing habits help pharma marketers plan and forecast both linear and CTV campaigns. DeepIntent's SVP of Analytics, John Mangano, is back to discuss how ACR data improves reach and frequency with Jason Patterson, the SVP of Business Intelligence at Publicis Health Media. Guys, take it away.
So, it's a great opportunity to be in this fireside chat with Jason. Jason and I have a history together. We started together, we're on the same team doing third-party measurement some years ago. And what's cool about it is after we both moved on to our next thing, we went entirely in different directions. So Jason went to the agency side of things, and I went to the media side, from publishers now to here at DeepIntent. So we really, we kind of have come from the same place, but we've ended in very different places and have a very different view. Or in some cases as to, or at least angle, as to how we can do things and how we measure. And there's sometimes interesting meetings when we have to be against each other in a Zoom and have a discussion about things. So it's a great opportunity to be here with you, Jason, and this will be fun.
Likewise, and clearly I can't get rid of him after 10 years ago either, so here we are.
Yes, so describe to me how agencies are viewing the changes in television today.
Sure. I'm going to do a little bit of a exercise here with everybody here as I answer that question. But we've seen a lot of really good panels about CTV and the challenges and the opportunities and the excitement around it. But when we think about the challenges from a measurement perspective, I'm going to ask the crowd some questions. But we are here with the CTV Forum, right? And I think there's no secret in our industry, for as long as it's been around, that we make money by making up acronyms. And so there's CTV, there's OTV, OTT. Please name out some other ones. Give me some acronyms that relates to television that you've come across in your career.
MVPD.
What's that?
MVPD.
MVPD, thank you.
ACR.
ACR, exactly, yep.
VOD, a lot of different flavors, right?
Yeah, there's DSP, there's SSP. I think you said earlier there's WTF.
There's WTF. That is
exactly.
That's an acronym I see every day.
Yeah. And I think that highlights the challenges that we have, because in the consumer's mind, there's only one acronym that they care about, it's TV. And we saw some really good research from John and AJ this morning about how consumers perceive, do they know they're being targeted? Do they know they're watching linear? Do they know they're watching streaming? To me, the days of telling consumers when to watch TV is over. Back in the good old days, and this is even before John's time, is that there was 3 channels, and there was prime time, and there was a company called Nielsen that measured everything, and we traded on that, and we knew how people were watching TV, and life was easy. And now that's not the case anymore. I mean, I heard somebody earlier saying that this year's the year of mobile. Well, that's gone away as well, and so the days of telling people when to watch TV is over, and I think that's the biggest challenge, because people still crave content. They still want to watch awesome shows. They want to talk about it with their friends and their coworkers, and us being, and there's value in us for that, because I think the stat you had on earlier was how many like seeing ads, and they want to see ads, and there is relevancy, especially in pharma. And they also know that in order to get that great content, it has to get paid for in some way. So, there's value to us, and the biggest challenge is making sure that we understand, who's watching, where they're watching, how they're watching, what does it matter to them, how does it work, and what value does it bring to us, and then what value does it bring back to them in terms of improving their lives from a pharmaceutical perspective.
And when we look at pharma, how forward-thinking are you finding, when you're dealing with your clients, specific with these transitions to the new technology and leveraging them?
Yeah, and I'm going to ask you that same question when I'm done. This morning there was a conversation. A gentleman had the fortunate opportunity to work with the clients, very forward thinking. You know, for us, there's no question our clients are eager to get into CTV and understand it. You know, linear TV isn't going away, but you know the reach potential is eroding, and I don't think that's any secret. And so we still need to reach people. There's still tremendous value in sight, sound, and motion communication messaging. You know, so you know our clients are really eager to understand it. And they're also really eager to understand how it works. And I know we're going to talk about challenges with ACR, or not challenges with ACR, but the benefits of ACR and using that to understand the challenges that we're facing with this, you know, advanced medium. But then I'll ask you too, like, you know, where are you seeing the industry go? Where are you seeing your clients, you know, capitalize on the value that you're bringing?
You know, having watched the pharma industry introduce new concepts, whether it is online video or even display at some point, you know, and as Jason pointed out, I'm very old, so I've seen it all. There's a telegraph thing way back when. No, but what I've noticed, which is very different right now, is to me the canary in the coal mine as to what we can get done as marketers comes from the legal department in pharma, and that is where we're really the kind of concern that was demonstrated 10 years ago with digital is not what we're seeing in CTV at all. In fact, there's an openness to the concept of CTV. And it's good because on the one hand, the creatives typically are the same as television, so you've got it approved. So that whole piece is pretty, you know, pretty easy, which isn't always the case with like display and online video. But then the other piece is all the hurdles have already been met. It's just a different device. And you know, you could argue that really a TV is just a really giant iPad or other tablet just stuck to your wall, right? And really the technology kind of is that. So it seems like legal departments are embracing it. So I think that's where I'm most optimistic, because if legal departments are embracing it, the rest is really easy.
Can I ask one follow-up question to that, please? What's your perspective from a targeting standpoint? You know, everything that we're doing, and we hear, you know, partnering with you and others like you, is that, you know, bringing in different data sources for the purposes of targeting, and that's, you know, obviously being carried through with CTV, but the better our, you know, there's rules that you can't target somebody if you know they have a condition, right? So how are you finding that balance within a television perspective of targeting without targeting too good?
Yeah, and that, there's a lot that goes into that. The key piece for us, on the one hand, we've jumped those hurdles on targeting in display, and the methods that we use for targeting are the same. So having that discussion is a little easier, because it's like, oh yeah, this method is already approved, and you know, we don't target on a one-to-one basis. We don't know the health conditions of any of the people we target. So that piece has helped it.
Yeah.
And you know, I was thinking as we were kind of getting up here, while this is a fireside chat, and so we have our fire, you guys are part of the chat. So if anyone has any questions, raise your hands and we could make this more of a discussion. You know, because certainly would love to hear your questions and have that discussion with everyone included. So let's talk about ACR data, because you know we are here to talk about that. And just so we're all on the same page, ACR data ultimately is looking at the behavioral data of people within a group of users. What we have from LG Ads is specifically the people who are using LG Ad smart devices. And there are other sources of ACR data as well, and some combined data sets. But ultimately, what it allows you to do is capture on a one-to-one basis the behavior of individuals on their devices in a privacy-safe way, just to be clear. But that gives us the ability to do things like run ROI analysis, but also just understand what viewers are looking at and what condition sufferers are looking at. So, you know, my question for you, Jason, what would you like to see the ad tech industry do with ACR that they aren't doing today?
That's a great question. To me, there's different values of ACR data from an agency perspective that plays into how we plan media, how we activate media, and then how we measure media. And as I let off the chat here, there's a huge the main value that ACR data is bringing. Well, I shouldn't say the main, but from a research guy like myself, gives us the opportunity to understand how people are consuming content, not day parts, not and whatnot. And so, from a planning perspective, it really gives us a unique opportunity to understand, the show, the network, whatever, how viewers are consuming that content regardless of time of day. So that's that. I think from my perspective, where we focus a lot on measurement and understanding the efficacy of programs, digital TV, and TV includes all the OTTs and CTVs and WTFs that we were talking about earlier. It's about measuring as much of the campaign as we can so we can have the most holistic view. And ACR data is fantastic in terms of helping us understand that, because it's allowing us to understand exposures that we wouldn't get from a set-top box or from any other direct data feed. So that's really great. What I'd like to see from the industry do, though, is create, and challenge all of the individual ACR companies to create methodologies that helps us scale that beyond an individual partner as well, so we can get the full breadth. How do we use ACR data to understand linear, and so on and so forth.
Great. So question, we're talking about ACR data here. How many people in your course of business have worked with ACR data or had a derivative product of ACR data? Okay, so we do have people working within ACR data. DeepIntent people, hands. If you ever. So ACR data, has its benefits and its limitations, right? We saw on the survey, it's pretty cool. You can have a good sense for a panel of people. And these are massive groups of people. So, with LG, it was 20 million people that we were looking at. But 20 million people and a population is greater. So how do we then use that and make it something bigger than in some ways, a research panel to look at and project it to the population as a whole? Have you guys been working on that? Or?
Yeah, I think the ability to tie that to other characteristics of that data, keep referencing other panels, it's the benefit of going near the end of the day, as I learned so much, I'm like, I'm going to talk about this, I'm going to talk about this. But somebody had said, a lot of the data is household-based, right? And we know there's, 2.5 people in every household. I have 5 in mine. My son's downstairs watching YouTube. My wife's upstairs watching something that I don't like, and I'm watching ESPN on the main floor, and so there's lots of disparate viewing and different people. So being able to properly decipher that, connecting it to the people in the household has been something where we've seen a lot of interesting data around, and with identity solutions that allows us to understand a little bit deeper about who's doing it. But it is a void. It's hard to understand a lot of things beyond the household.
So those of you who are hands up with regard to using ACR data, what were your uses for ACR? How did you, and did it meet the need that you were trying to solve with it?
It's creating audience logic, tying things together. I work at A4 Advertising, which is owned by Altice USA. So we do a lot of data partnerships with suppliers, work with different DSPs, SSPs, and then we are looking, like everyone else in the industry today, is try to expand relationships and partnerships. I think mostly we're using it for a variety of political in particular.
Great.
Second screen retargeting. Because nobody's sitting in front of their TV and not probably on a second device, or obviously free, and also competitive conquesting.
Excellent. Is everyone familiar with second screen reconquesting? It's a fantastic way to use it, right? Because you can leverage knowing what people are seeing to target them on another device. Something unthinkable years ago. Anyone else?
Yeah, we also use it for conquesting as well. It's kind of like another way of fueling the bottom of the funnel first, right, and then going from there, like our retargeting line on display or search. It's very accurate and has, limited, its scale is limited on purpose because we're going after something so one-to-one, right? So it's just, the performance is much higher as a result of that, right? We're not casting a humongous net of the entirety of CTV as a whole or linear, right? That's even bigger, right? So, yeah.
Great.
Incremental reach, excluding linear exposed viewers from more connected.
Excellent. Jim.
Well, I was just going to ask you that same question as well. What are you guys? Where's the unique ways you're seeing? From a measurement perspective, what are the unique ways that you're seeing ACR data being leveraged?
So, as a DSP, we both target, but what makes us unique about, in the DSP space is that we've got our measurement entirely connected to our targeting engine. So we can do things pretty much in real time and do very interesting analysis. So I guess I'll start with the targeting and then go with the measurement. Ultimately, we have the ability to do the retargeting, the conquesting, finding people that we're not finding in linear TV. Also retargeting people who have seen like competitive ads or other activity shows and that sort of stuff. On the measurement side, we can do some pretty cool things because, using the ACR data, we know someone has been exposed. And because ACR data isn't necessarily all-encompassing of the population, it allows us to do certain things, but not others, right? We don't know if they've not been exposed because ultimately they may be on another device. But we know an exposure happened, and we can then track those individuals who were exposed on a one-to-one basis in a privacy-safe way. Sorry, it's a meeting that's mostly pharma, so I've got to say that every time. And create an association with their medical record, right? So we can look to see if they've been diagnosed with conditions as well as what conditions they have, or what brands of drugs they get on. And we can look at that, of course, back in time, but also wait, just like claims data measurement is done in display and looking at it forward. And that's how we got some of the stats that we saw today. We also can simply look at behavior as well. So, if you think of like click-throughs and all that sort of stuff, right, of the old digital world, you can also do that now with watching TV shows. So, I remember early on in my career, it's like, oh, the website got a lot of traffic, and then we would look at the TV campaign and say, well, here's why we started the TV campaign. But now we can very specifically look and leverage the fact that we can see the TV viewership to also align it with other activity, whether it's ads served to them or even through a pixel on the site. We can then identify if they went to the brand site or did other things throughout the internet, which is pretty cool.
And that's a lot of what we're striving to do, especially as these unique data sets come on, is we're, as an agency, our goal is holistic media planning and activation and measurement, right? So we're not buying CBS because we need to buy CBS. We're not buying WebMD and we're not buying DeepIntent just to buy them. We're buying everything together because it all plays a very specific role for our clients and for their patients. And so for us, everything's tying to the script, right? And we ultimately want to understand how the complete picture is tying to the script. And ACR data helps fill a lot of voids that are inherent in all types of measurement, cookie-based measurement, linear-based measurement, and so on. So there's a lot of value there, but it goes beyond just the script, and we're looking to tell that story. As much of all of us in the room would love a patient to be exposed to an ad tonight and go get on prescription tomorrow. It doesn't happen. So we want to understand what are the behaviors that they're doing. Are they searching for the brand? Are they going to a website for more information? Are they going to their doctor? Are they talking to their doctor about it? And what's that journey? And there's a lot of value in what you're saying that we could use to help tell that story.
Great. I'm going to open it up for questions. Anyone? It's very quiet. It's the end of the day.
It's the end of the day.
I know.
Oh.
All right. Well, thank you. Do you have any other questions? Thoughts?
I'm good. Thank you very
All
much.
right.
This has been a great day. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, Jen?
Can you give some examples of some ACR strategies that you're currently using? Whether it's like competitive households or just different types of audiences that you've created?
Is that for me or for John, or either or?
Either one.
I'll go first, and I want you to answer too, because
Sure.
I don't know if I know the right answer to this. We, like anything that we're doing, I just mentioned how our goal is to create a holistic strategy to reach our audiences, right? And there's so many different ways to create audiences, and understand, different ways to connect with them as well. From an ACR perspective, we're looking at patterns in terms of understanding incremental reach opportunities, creating, targeting audiences based off of that and activating against them, because the theme of everything here is that linear is, more people are streaming, and it's not, linear is not going away, but there's a lot of value in terms of how we reach these audiences. So, using ACR to understand which programs and how to create targeting off of that, because we've also seen from a script perspective that, the promise today of CTV is that it's more targeted, and it's lesser ad load. And so therefore, there's more relevancy and there's more value to the brand. So we're continuing to build targets off of that to capitalize on that value that we're seeing on the back end of things for now.
Great. And, I think a lot of the people from the audience kind of spoke to what the power of ACR data is, right? On the one hand, you can simply use it as a research panel and understand, what individuals who are being exposed are doing. On the other hand, you can use it to retarget based off of ads they've seen, whether they're your brand's ads or competitors' ads, arguably shows as well. You can also use that to expand your market to understand, okay, we did linear. Linear's still, we talk about how great CTV is, but linear is not going away tomorrow. And certainly it's very valuable. But the reality of it is it's not reaching everyone. So, how do you reach the people that linear TV isn't doing it? And ACR gives you an avenue to do that. And then lastly, you can also use it in ways to blunt competition. There's just so much you can do in how you're leveraging that ACR data to better understand who you want to reach, to expand your market or, retarget very specific individuals. So, we talk about how linear TV isn't as targeted as we'd like it to be, but there certainly is a value to it. You can retarget the individuals who watch the show, but overlay some targeting intelligence, like a propensity model from any one of the folks who have their targeting segments, and then add in incremental impressions for the people who saw that TV ad. So it's not just we're going to fill the holes that we're missing. It also could be, very much complementary to a robust linear TV campaign. Oh.
Is there a solution you're aware of? Since, as far as I know, ACR is only coming to linear TV exposure, but like in your examples of blunting or conquesting, if a brand is exposed through a big Hulu buy or a Peacock buy that's running, to my knowledge, that ACR data can't be captured or reflected in the conquesting or the frequency management. Have you guys heard of anything on the horizon that can help deal with the ACR type data from CTV exposure?
So the data that we get from LG actually includes everything. So ACR is capturing ultimately all the content. We can look at specifically linear TV exposures, or we can look at both linear TV and CTV. So you do have the ability to do that, and then build your strategy against that as well. And Jacob, that's a great example of another way that you can do some pretty interesting intelligence. One way to look at the ACR data is it's panel data. So those CTV ads that are being served aren't even necessarily DeepIntent CTV ads. In fact, we know they're not, or at least we can identify which ones are or aren't. So we have the ability then to do a comparison, non-DeepIntent CTV ads versus our own DeepIntent CTV ads, and see which one's more effective. So there's a lot of really cool stuff that you can do that doesn't just solely sit within the linear TV world, but also the CTV world. Any other questions? Great. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.